Thanks for watching this video on 4mathteachers.com. Today I want to be talking about classroom procedures. Classroom procedures are so important, namely because of this. If you don't have them, students don't know what you expect. If students don't know what you expect, they're going to create their own standards, their own procedures. That's not okay for you, for your classroom instruction, and even for them. Students, all of us, we thrive when we know where the boundary is. We thrive when we know what people want us to do. So provide that for your students. Especially as a new teacher, I want to encourage you to create very exhaustive classroom procedures and take the time on the front end of the school year to detail those to your students. The more the students know about what's okay and what's not, the better off that they'll be and that you'll be. Let me just encourage you, when you create your procedures, you're going to want to make sure that you enforce them on the front end very strictly, kindly of course, and equally, but that you are hard, that you stay the course with your procedures so that when a student transgresses a boundary that they should not transgress, that you let them know. Okay, so there's another video where I detail how I deal with classroom management and bad behavior. I'll link to that in the video below, or in the video notes below. But on this particular video, I want to talk to you about procedures. And we have a set of procedures that I've come up with for a minimal cost on our website. I'll link to that as well in the notes below. But think through all the different things that you do in your class, from when kids walk in to when kids walk out to even when they're in the hallways, and everything in between. So how do they go to the bathroom? What do they need to do to get your attention? How can they spend their free time? What does homework look like? When they finish a test, what is the expectation? When they're taking a test, what's the expectation? When you're at your desk, what they should be touching when they're at your desk, when they're at their desk. Again, all these different things. Is gum allowed? How does working together in groups look? All these things are outlined in this particular document that I provided on our website. But think through those things, and then the first day, talk about it. The first day, make sure the students know. And the second day, talk about it again. Quiz them on it. When you take the time on the front end to detail what you want students to do and how they should behave in your classroom, the fruits of that will be year-long. If you wait for situations to develop, I didn't talk about this, didn't talk about that, that's going to breed confusion, and that's going to be a lousy way to start the school year, and the rest of your school year will pay the consequences. So I would say this: if there's a way for you to spend the first couple days in your classroom talking about procedures and setting the atmosphere and the context for the rest of the year, man, your students will be better for it. They'll appreciate you more. It's always easier to get easier. It's a lot harder to get harder on students. So let me be the first to tell you that as a new teacher, as a veteran teacher, when you start the year off a little bit more strict, because you want to make sure kids understand what is acceptable and what is not, you will be so happy of the way the school year begins. Now, when you get to Christmas break, you come back from winter break, and students come back in your classroom, they've been gone for a couple weeks. Guess what you should do? Go back to your procedures and let them know what is okay and what is not. Take the time to read through, okay, this is when you're tardy. When the bell rings and you're not working on your bell work, that's a tardy. And then the next day, when the students come in your classroom and the bell rings and they're in their desk, yeah, they're seated, but they're not doing what your expectation was, that they need to be working on the bell work, give them 30 seconds. 30 seconds after the bell rings. Hey, in the procedures, I give you 30 seconds. You didn't take those 30 seconds to get ready and get focused in and start working. I walked by, there was nothing written on your paper, you were not engaged, I had to give you a tardy. You can have that conversation in the hallway, quietly next to the student. Or you can just say, hey, I walked around just now, I wrote down the names of 7 of you guys. You guys are receiving a tardy. You don't have to ask me if you're one of those 7. If you were working, you're not. But if I walked by and it was past 30 seconds of the bell and you weren't working, you can just assume that was you. Very quickly, when students start getting those tardies racked up and they realize that you're not bluffing, they recognize that that's a boundary that you've set, and they stick with it. So I just want to encourage you, set your classroom expectations, print them out, put them on your website, give them to parents, give them to your students, and make sure you enforce them strictly on the front end. It'll make the rest of your year easier. I would also say, even after spring break, to review your procedures again. It's just so good for students, and my administration loves it. My administration wants us to review procedures so that kids feel like they're in a safe and consistent environment.